I appreciate you. For those who may not know, just start off by telling people who you are.
Yeah, my name is Mark Lane. I'm out of the Des Moines, Iowa market. Been doing real estate investing for, it's actually my 15th year this summer, be 15 years.
Wow.
So been a while, been a lot of deals done since that time. So probably done, I don't know, maybe close to 1,000 deals, something like that. So quite a few. Yeah. So,
That that's amazing, man. 15 years is quite a bit of time, You've watched the game change.
yep. Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, cause it's gone so fast. It's just crazy how fast it's gone. Um, but yeah, so much has happened during that time, and the market's always changing, continuing to adapt and stay alive.
Yeah, man. So let's take it back to the beginning a little bit. Like how was your start?
So do you want me to give like before I actually got into real estate, or like once I was actually in real estate and started doing work?
Let's start the moment that you decided real estate was what you wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, so that I would say just a really quick story of kind of how I got into real estate was, so I was working at my previous career was in not career, I was job. I was working at a grocery store,
Yeah.
trying to work my way up the store ladder. Didn't really ever get there. There was some obstacles in the way that I never able to get through. Um, at that time I was working 60 hours a week for, I think, like, I don't even know if I ever made it past $40,000 a year. So it was like
Yeah.
36,000 a year, something like that. And so anyway, left there, went to work at John Deere in the factory. I was working in the assembly, like slinging steel all day. Um, and did that for about year and a half, 2 years. And kind of my pivotal moment was, having a vision of my daughter growing up to be like I was at that time, which, of course, back then I was feeding a family of five on $40,000 a year. We were broke. Just didn't have any direction. I mean, I was in what felt to me like a dead end job.
Yeah.
And I, so I made a vow one night that I was just going to change our family's life forever, and I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I just knew it was going to happen. And a couple of weeks later, I ended up watching an infomercial by Dean Graziosi, and he was selling a book on real estate investing. And so I happened to buy the book and read it kind of cover to cover, and I guess that was kind of the point where I got bit by the bug, and I knew I wanted to get into it, but it took a while. Probably took a couple years before I ever got my foot in the door.
Yeah.
Just trying things, learning stuff like that.
That's awesome. That's a good story, man. From grocery store to houses.
Yeah.
Uh, that's inspirational. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people watching this that's going to relate to that because they're probably where you were, all those years ago. So that's
Mhm.
that's awesome, man. So did you get started like in wholesaling? Did you get straight into flipping? How was that?
Yep. So the way I would say I more so got into real estate was I went to a Rich Dad seminar. I don't even know if they still have those anymore. I never see them advertised anywhere. But anyway, back then, Rich Dad seminar. Ended up meeting a guy at the seminar. So I didn't have anywhere close to the amount of money to get started with the education. He did. He ended up getting started. We made contact again because we met at the seminar. We made contact about a month later. He was still kind of like dabbling, trying to figure out what he wanted to do with the business cards. He'd purchased the education. I was out there like taking all kinds of action, but just didn't really know what I was doing because I didn't have any direction. And so he ended up asking me to partner up with him. I got like basically a free education, which I needed. I didn't like, I'd read enough at that point where I I understood real estate, but I just didn't have like a very clear path of like, here's the exact steps to take type of thing.
Yeah.
Um, so we ended up taking classes on, one was wholesaling and one was on, I think it was on foreclosures or something like that. Um, so we started into wholesaling, and our essentially like right off the bat. So we started launching tons of offers. I mean, I was like, once I found a realtor that was willing to make offers for us. Keep in mind, this was 2010, kind of the very bottom of the market, like right out of the the bottom of the recession hit 2008. So we're at 2010. I mean, it was still like foreclosures everywhere. And there weren't really a lot of buyers out there. There were some, like if I had that market with what I know now, oh my, I can't even imagine how much I would kill that thing. Um, but I just didn't know how to find buyers. I didn't know how to sell the deals, any of that stuff. So we went out there and I started blasting like 50 offers a week. And because there was enough inventory on the MLS alone to where I could do that, and like enough fresh inventory to where I could like maybe make 50 offers a week, or no, yeah, I think about 50 offers a week. And then eventually got to the point where I'm gonna digress here for a second, but eventually got to the point where we were making 25 offers per day, like just launching that many offers out on the MLS, and I was just
Yeah.
picking up deal after deal. But anyway, so we had got all like from those first 50 offers, we got 11 deals, 11 houses accepted, 11 offers accepted. And I'm like, oh shoot, like what am I supposed to do with all these? So I just scrambling. My partner funded one of them, and it was like a cheap, like $11,000 house, piece of junk. Uh, and then we found a hard money lender off of a real estate forum that I was a part of. Found like he was from out of state, he drove in, funded that, crazy interest rate, but it was a good enough deal. It still worked. And then we found a local hard money lender for another deal. So out of the 11, we made 3 of them work, tossed the 11, 8 back on the market, just had to let them go. And then we were kind of trying to wholesale them, but we just didn't know the steps. We didn't know exactly what to do. And we end up more so merging into rentals. So we got those houses fixed up, refinanced them, paid the lenders back, and kind of started doing it all over again. And so the first year we built up a portfolio of like, I think it was 10 or 12 rentals or something like that. But we weren't making any cash. We were cash. He had cash. I had no cash. I needed cash. So after about the end of the first year, excuse me, we were still building up the rental portfolio, but we had a few deals that presented themselves to make some pretty good flips. Market still wasn't great for it, but we were able to get them sold. So I flipped 2 with him. I flipped 2 with another guy, and then that was my first 5-figure check, and I had several of them right in a row. I'm like, oh, like this suddenly, like my life changed,
Yeah.
within about 2 months, and I had, I don't know, $30,000 in the bank, and after all profit splits and stuff. And so then I wanted to go faster as we led into the kind of the beginning of the second year. I was the one that had my essentially feet on the ground, like doing all the work, meeting with contractors, managing the houses, making the offers, work with the realtors, work with the hard money lenders. I was doing all the real estate stuff. And so my knowledge base was building faster and faster, whereas he was still working at Wells Fargo, still working his 40-hour job, wasn't really that integrated into the real estate, just kind of
Yeah.
had the partnership, the credit side of the business established. But I didn't really need that anymore, like, because now I was getting established. And so I broke off the partnership, and went out on my own, found a new hard money lender locally. It's not in business anymore, but he was absolutely loaded. And so he funded every deal 100%. We split the profit, still paid him an interest rate. And then that kind of gave me free reign to like go faster. So then I think we fixed and flipped, I don't know, like 20 something houses the next year, like year 2. And then year 3, then I think it was year 3 or year 4, I started kind of learning wholesaling, and then kind of had a wholesaling rehabbing type of operation. So that's kind of
Man,
the
that's
intro.
awesome. Yeah, you got an amazing story, man. And 15 years of building momentum seems to have done really well for you. Because I watch your Facebook posts, and I know, Facebook is Facebook. You can't believe everything, but for some reason, I think you're telling the truth, man. So,
Oh yeah, nothing to hide here. Nothing to
so,
hide.
so what was it? Last year you did what, over 50 wholesale deals, right? And then,
Yeah, I think it was like right at 50. I think 50 wholesale deals. And our average profit has ramped up a lot, from so we scaled down. We got up to relatively decent sized team in 2019. So from about 2017 to 2020, we scaled because I was part of a mastermind. That's what it was all about. Is like building this bigger team and building an organization to where you can kind of step out of it, like all that stuff. Got to where I kind of hated my business. That's the only time I've in my business where I disliked my business.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, at that time, yeah, we got up to doing 110 deals in 2019. But I'm I'm as profitable in one quarter now as what I was in an entire year back then, and
That's
I do
awesome.
half the amount of deals, so it's
That's
crazy.
awesome.
And so our margins are bigger. We have a lot less overhead. It's just a much easier business to manage.
Love it. Whenever I talk to guys like you or girls like you that's been in this business for as long as you or longer, that's
Yeah,
the key that I've got is over time. I think investors just realize it's not about doing as many deals as you can. It's about focusing on those profitable ones, right?
quality. Yeah, yeah. We don't. I mean, very occasionally I'll do a little bit smaller deals, and by smaller I mean like 10,000. I don't even like to touch them anymore. Like whereas 10,000 used to be like a good wholesale, I'd be excited about 10,000. Now I just don't really touch those deals. I look for um I used to have $20,000 as my like that's a really good wholesale type thing. Like I get really excited about $20,000 payday. And now that's kind of more of my minimum of I would rather do, like four 25, $30,000 deals per month,
Yeah.
then try to do 10 $5,000 deals.
Yeah.
Like course, right? That doesn't even make sense. Why would you want to do all that volume for nothing?
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Makes total sense. Makes total sense, man. So you mentioned we a lot. I know you mentioned, is it the same partner you had from the beginning?
no, I say we. That's just I just don't like to say I all the time.
Sure.
We is my like my assistant and I.
Yeah.
So my assistant's also my stepdaughter. So yeah, she's just kind of family, and it's just two of us. So yeah, I don't have any business partners or anything. It's just me. As far
Love
as
it, man. I love that. So do you like to keep it small like that? Just you and an assistant and some
I
contractors
do,
and
yeah. I
stuff.
mean, and what's crazy is that I never feel all that busy. I mean, we had like last year, midsummer. Midsummer's always busy, but we had a pretty busy stretch. But aside from that, like the average day, I don't feel like I work more than 3 to 4 hours
Yeah.
of actual like work time. I mean,
Yeah.
a sales appointment takes a total of an hour between drive time and the appointment. Usually have a max of three of those per day. And outside of that, like all I really do is manage the projects if we have any of those going on, and we try to keep those to a minimum. So, I don't feel like I really work more than 4 to 6 hours in a day. So it's not super busy. Because I keep a very small team, very, very lean. There's nothing to manage. Her and I just had a conversation at the very end of last year, talk about moving into the next couple of years and stuff. And we were talking about just like how good of synergy her and I have together. I have 100% absolute faith and confidence in her ability and what she does.
Awesome.
She grew, right. It wasn't that way day one, but as she grew and she took on more responsibility and stuff, I don't ever question if something gets done. It's just always done. And at the same time, she has absolute confidence in me to be able to bring in sales and keep her paid and keep the business going and all that. So there's no micromanaging, there's no management. It's just like she does her thing, I do my thing, and we work together super well. So I love it. I don't think I can't think of a single other type of business that a person could run where, I mean, let's just say, I mean, easy numbers, we probably net $500,000 a year, net, like not gross, but net. And, with one assistant, I just don't know of any other business model that can do that.
Right.
So
Yeah. It'd be very difficult, right? Um, you mentioned that you were doing a lot when you were trying to build your team and you had a big team, that was the one time you remember like hating your business.
yeah.
Can you dive more into that? Like what was the reason you think?
Yeah. Well, I would say a big piece of it was there was just some of it was just maybe my lack of management and because I've never wanted to be a manager. That's just not what I
Yeah.
want to do. I want to be a real estate investor. I like to do deals.
Yeah.
Um, but some of it was maybe my lack of management, lack of building culture, and all that kind of stuff. But we started having some disagreements, disputes in the office. Girls like kind of starting to bicker and fight with each other and be kind of catty and that kind of stuff. And I was like, man, like I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to have to be like handling disputes, handling arguments. Like it's not what I set out to do, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and then on top of that, yeah, like starting to have to like figure out like, should we be paying our employees benefits and retirement plans and I have to figure all this stuff out again. That's not what I want. That's not what I want to do with my life. And then on top of that, just seeing the margins dwindle. So I can't remember exactly what it was, but when we were in scale mode, our actual profit per deal by the time marketing was paid, employees were paid, all that was down to like $3,000 per deal of actually net profit. So we had to do a pretty good amount of volume just to make sure everything was paid. So, back then our net was 200 and something per year after doing 100 and something deals. That was like, and that's not terrible. I've heard of people being in even worse situations when
Yeah.
they really scale, but it just it's yeah, it just lost its fun. It lost its appeal. So and because I was hiring to put everybody in these places, like I was pulled out of the place that I excel at. So I'm really good in like the sales and closing. I don't consider myself a salesperson, but I just feel like I've probably been in the house of 10,000 with 10,000 people at this point. So I've
Yeah.
got those reps in place. I know the questions to ask. I know what should be done with the deals. Like I know how to orchestrate, know how to close, all that stuff. So I pulled myself out to put somebody in that role, um, and then I was kind of a place where I'm like, okay, well now I'm a manager instead of a real estate investor, and
Yeah.
that's what I didn't like.
I understand. I completely and I think talking to people like you is the main reason why I don't ever want a big team. Like I know a lot of people who's just getting started, like people who's never done a deal. That's all they want. It seems like, oh, I want, a whole team of VAs. I want all
Yeah,
these people. I want the business. I don't want to do anything. I want everybody to do it for me.
yeah.
Right? You seem like you're just the opposite, like you want to be involved as much as possible.
Yeah, and it's not that I want to be overly busy and I don't want to
Yeah.
have my hands in everything. Like I don't know a lot of what goes on. I mean, my
Yeah.
assistant handles everything admin wise, right? Like I don't touch payroll, I don't touch bookkeeping, I don't touch the property management. She handles all that.
Awesome.
But those are not my skill sets, and those aren't high value. Uh, what do I want to say? Like tasks, if you
Right.
will. Those are something that somebody that's making $20, $30 an hour should be doing,
Yeah.
$15 an hour, whatever it might be. So it makes sense to pay somebody to do that stuff. But when let's say like I go work on doing deals, that's $10,000 an hour type of opportunities. For me to pay somebody that's not as good as me to go do that, like I'm potentially losing a lot of money if somebody is gonna be half as good as me at that, right? So like I think some of that kind of stuff, it just doesn't make sense. If you're trying to really be like a business owner and you want to have potentially either you want to run this type of business, you want to run another few businesses, you're going to hire a COO and
Yeah.
they're going to run the whole thing. That's a different story because then you're purely just entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
You're not trying to be a real estate investor, you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Like maybe that's better in some ways because I mean, I know a select few that have that type of a business model and they do it really really well, but that's at the core of who they are.
Yeah.
They're not hardcore real estate investors. They're full on business owners and
Yeah.
entrepreneurs. So I think just identifying like what role you want to play and who you are, that's what it comes down to. I don't think there's not right or wrong. It's just
Yeah.
like who you want to be in the business.
Yeah, man. You're a very smart man. Um, So what does your marketing look like today in 2025? How are you guys bringing in leads?
Yep. So, yeah, so we just had this conversation just not more than 2 weeks ago. So we are currently all we currently do is direct mail. We send out roughly about 20 to 25,000 every 5 weeks, and we do PPC. So between the two of those bring in enough to where we're doing the amount of deals we want to do. So we're budgeting for about 60 deals last year, hit it almost right on the nose. Maybe we're just a deal or two short. And then going for 2025, we're budgeting for 72 deals. Um, and so one of the things I was thinking was, you know, like a little bit later last year, but not quite into the year. I was kind of starting to like think of, wanting to dominate my market, and like I wanted to have my hands into every possible lead source that could get in front of somebody. And so basically, like if another investor is marketing in that marketing's avenue, whatever you want to call it, lead source, I wanted to have my hands in it too. Like I wanted to have a chance of beating everybody in every way. But then I had to check my ego, and I'm like, okay, like we don't need to be spending money in all these different areas if they're not going to bring in enough of a ROI to make it worthwhile. And so when I was looking at our PPC and our direct mail, I'm saying like there's no doubt these are probably the two best lead sources there are, at least for bang for the buck type of thing.
Yeah.
There's there's another person here that does radio really heavy. Like I think that's his only source that he does, and he dominates it. Like I just started hearing somebody else on the radio like literally yesterday was the first time I've heard. But aside from that, this other guy's been the only person on the radio for years.
Yeah.
So that's his source, right? Like I don't know if I want to go try to compete in radio when somebody else is like dominating that channel, right? Because I'm gonna have to spend so much money to try to compete with them. So we've got these other two sources that are bringing almost everything that we need. So I say, you know what? Like, let's just go just a little bit deeper with those, right? So instead of me trying to like go find like other channels, try to like add in these extra dozen deals per year, let's spend just a little bit more in direct mail, maybe spend just a little bit more in PPC. And then we did just add Facebook as well. I've done it in the past. It's never been a big producer, but it's the same person that's managing my PPC is going to be managing the Facebook. So it's kind of just an add-on, and it's a test. He's not charging anything for the management for the first several months, just kind of like to see if we can bring anything in. So that's it. And then also working, starting to work with, trying to work with realtors more. I've got a book. I'm not sure if you're aware of that I published last year. It's called More Leads, More Deals, More Profits. And in that book, I talk about what I call the Dream 100. So the Dream 100 is, you think of the professionals that our ideal motivated seller is going to be going to talk to, right? To try to like help with their pain points. Like almost any of our motivated sellers are going to be calling us have some type of pain points in their life.
Yeah.
That's why they want to sell the house and get out from underneath it, right? There's some kind of pain going on in their life. Could be inheritance, could be house too distressed, could be they're behind on payments, taxes. There's tons of different pain points. But with all of those pain points, have some type of a professional that they're going to go to try to get that problem solved, right?
Yeah.
They're going to go to a probate attorney. They might be going to a senior assisted living facility. They might be a divorce attorney. Could be a contractor, a realtor, right? There's all these different people that they could be going to try to get that problem solved. So outside of the marketing, I say like I need to build up my Dream 100 bigger and better to
Yeah.
where those people are referring the motivated seller to me. So ideally, either I'm getting in front of them through my marketing or I'm getting in front of them through my referrals. So the Dream 100 is a really fantastic way to, one, it's free aside from just the energy and the time you invest into building the Dream 100, but it's free. And two, once it's built and you have those solid relationships, they'll feed you those deals for a lifetime because that's their career, right? It's not a job. It's not a job that they're just dabbling in. It's a career where you got a probate attorney that's handing you motivated sellers. Like that is a gold mine because
Yeah.
it's never going to stop, right? Like as long as you treat their clients well and close and do everything you're supposed to do, like that is an absolute gold mine. So building that Dream 100 up as many of those people as you can, like that's there's so much gold there, and nobody does it.
No, man, you've just with that, there's so much value for people if they really listen and just go after that. So, we're running out of time here, but before we go, like, where can they get that book for one, and how can they reach out to you if they need help with real estate? Because you do that as well, right? Like you help people.
I'm not doing any coaching this year. Yep, I actually just kind of put it all on hold. I've had a
Okay,
few people reach out already, but I'm just 100% focused on my real estate business.
gotcha.
So I'm kind of like I'm not one of the like gurus that's like barely doing any real estate and trying to do all the coaching. I'm actually like very little, if any, coaching in all real estate. So um, so yeah, it's just not something I'm offering right now, but maybe in the future. But anybody's listening, feel free to connect with me. I'm really kind of just on Facebook right now. I'm not trying to like put myself out there everywhere. So just find me on Facebook. But yeah, the book is called More Leads, More Deals, More Profits. You can find it on Amazon.
Awesome. I'm gonna cop that for you, man. Support and get some knowledge in.
Yeah.
And anybody that's listening to this, I would recommend you to, even though I haven't read it, buy the book because this guy knows what he's talking about. And if you do have any questions, even though he's not coaching, I'm sure if you reach out to him, he'd be more than happy to be a go-giver and give back.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would want to, mention before we hop off here?
Not really. I appreciate having me on. For all those people out there, just keep digging in. There's a lot of obstacles out there in the way, and every single person I've known that has had success, that's been willing to keep pushing through the obstacles, eventually gets through and eventually has a success. So just like anything else in life, the harder you push, the more action you take, the more results you're going to get.